Joined here by Danica Patrick here at Daytona International Speedway. This week, Danica, first of all, you're here to race, but you're also here for a cause. Tell me about a cause that's near and dear to your heart, COPD.
COPD stands for chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, and my grandma had COPD. She passed away. She was only in her mid-60s, and it was just really sad to see her in the end. She was, it takes your breath away, literally. I mean, you continuously lose lung function with this disease if you don't do something about it and get with your doctor. So in the end, she was unfortunately on oxygen 24 hours a day and in a wheelchair, and couldn't walk or anything. So turning a negative into a positive and raising awareness. And we started the campaign here last year at the Drive for COPD 300. Drive for COPD 300 again this year. So it's really cool that they sponsored that race. And our goal last year was to get 1 million screeners in the first year of our campaign, and we did it. We just did it, and we're all really proud, and we hope that this year we can do the same and more, and try and get people even more involved with the disease and getting people to get help.
Also, you can go to COPD.com for all the information on that. Danica, real quick on the disease, is that a smoking type of disease? Does smoking cause that, or?
The answer is yes. Mm-hmm. Smoking can definitely cause that. It's the leading cause of COPD. Not the only thing, but yeah, I mean, let's face it, smoking's not good for you. So stopping is probably a good idea, but it's definitely a part of the disease that has to be aware, but the easiest thing is to take the screener and just, if you've smoked over 100 cigarettes in your life, which sure isn't very much, so it's about doing something about it and being honest with what's going on with your body, and recognizing the little symptoms that are easy to overlook as time goes on, like getting out of breath and coughing up things. I mean, that's not normal stuff. So it's about doing something about it and being honest with yourself.
Okay, Danica, I wrote a column earlier this week talking about how NASCAR needs you. NASCAR needs you to succeed. I know you don't want to talk about that, but can you sense that people are rooting for you, that they want you to be good, they want you to succeed in this sport?
Well, that's very nice of you. I really appreciate that article, and it's very, very flattering. And that's always a tough question to answer. I really have just always. The best answer I have is that I stay true to myself. I try and be myself, try and relate to people, try and not be pre-programmed, and be really honest in my interviews, since that's the only time people get to know me. And if that is translating to fans and being real with them, then that's good. I plan to keep on doing it, and I don't mind being in that position. I think it's a really flattering and honoring position to be in, and if I can help, I'm happy to do it.
This is your second season in NASCAR, but not your second year. You're only in 12 races last year. You still have a lot to learn, don't you?
Well, thank you. That's I've had to remind myself of that. So it's great to hear you say that, because it is true. I mean, this is only going to be race number 13 for me, so I'm only a third of the way through one season. So I have to keep that in mind. Mind you, I hope for good results. I mean, I'm still hoping that, I'm still hoping for I think that, gosh, at a race like Daytona, you can hope for a really good result, because so many things can happen out there, and people can fall out of the race, and you can be in the right train, and you can have really good results that are maybe a little bit more abnormal, I suppose, for experience level. But yeah, it is important to keep that in mind, that I've only done 12 races, because it's easy to get down. You're out there in a 40-car field, and it's you're trying to you're trying to learn and trying to maneuver with all those cars out there, and they have so much experience, and but I still hope for great results, but I have to keep those things in mind so that I don't get down on myself, because the only way to not have good results is to be down on yourself.
Also, for us non-gearheads, just the major difference between a NASCAR and a stock car and an Indy car. What's the major difference, if you could put it in a Cliff Notes version?
Well, I have to be honest with you. I am actually not really a gearhead. People tell me about engines and things. They're like, I got this in my car, and I'm like, oh yeah. I kind of play along because I don't need to know that stuff. But or maybe I'm not. I don't know. Anyway, I'm not necessarily a gearhead myself. But
when you're driving the car, what's the major difference?
I do know about that, though. Mind you, I don't know about the technical as much. But you know, they're definitely two different beasts. I mean, with racing these cars in specific to like a track like this, it reminds me of going IndyCar racing because you're flat out and it's like a big chess match out there. Except for you need a partner in this, as opposed to an IndyCar, you can kind of do it more on your own a little bit. But you're just constantly trying to find the open holes and not lift your foot off the throttle. So there's some similarities there, but I mean, in IndyCar, you're affected very much by what's in front of you with the cars, and in stock cars, you're affected by what's behind you. So less control in NASCAR. The accidents are bigger because you're running tighter together. I mean, I had to get used to being 2 cars back from someone because in IndyCar, that was like on him. You know, if he has a little hiccup or a lift, I mean, I'm in him. I'm going to drive into his rear end, so which is very dangerous in an open-wheel car. So having to get used to those distances and getting to, you know, everything from 1 car back to half back to, you know, touching their bumper. So those things took a little while to get used to, but that's also why the accidents are so big. There's nowhere to go. You know, we saw it yesterday with Dale Jr.'s crash in practice. I mean, there's nowhere to go if something happens. So higher risk of crashing, but a lower risk of injury, I would say, in these cars. They're in Indy cars, you definitely can launch off of each other pretty easily, but in these, you kind of slide around and bang the wall, but you know, you're a little bit safer. But I mean, they've also done a really good job over the years of making the track safer too, so not to overlook that.
You said you're not a gearhead. Somebody told me Danica Patrick, the race car driver, likes to sew.
See, I told you I wasn't a gearhead. I do like to sew. I didn't sew as much this winter. I felt like I didn't have enough tasks. Maybe I got intimidated by my first winter of sewing because I made a shirt that took me literally from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. to make it, and I'm not very good at it, so it's tedious. But I've enjoyed it. I mean, I can hem my jeans now, which for someone who's only like 5'1", that's very handy. I can't tell you how the stack would build up over a 6-month period, and I'd have jeans that I'd take in. Okay, I know this is probably a lot. I know I'm very fortunate. I have a lot, but you know, I'd take in 10 pairs of jeans because, you know, maybe I got some free jeans at a photo shoot. Maybe I bought a couple, and all of a sudden, you know, I'm wishing I had jeans, but I have a stack there that's just like 4 inches too long for me. So I do that. Like we were talking about, I made a makeup brush paint roll thing, which I decided I don't know the name of that, so I'll have to name it. Yeah.
Just tell me you don't knit. You don't sit around and knit, do you?
You told me not to tell you I knit. I did knit for one winter. I knitted for one winter, and I think it was about 4 or 5 years ago, and I was knitting scarves, and I only knew the knit. I didn't know the purl. I was trying to get onto the purl, and it didn't work, and then it was too confusing. So I just there's literally this like turquoise yarn and needles underneath like our little coffee table in our living room that they're still like looped in there, and they've been sitting there for like 4 years. I'm thinking I should probably just take it to the bag and stuff it in the closet. That's probably the wise thing.
Last couple of things, real quick, the whole sex appeal angle. Does it bother you that people say Danica's popular because she's got a lot of sex appeal?
No, I mean, it doesn't bother me. I'm confident in my abilities and what I've done in my career and what I can do moving forward. And so with that in mind, it doesn't. I'm flattered. If somebody thinks I'm pretty, I'm flattered, you know. Just somebody says, you're attractive, you know, you're like, thanks.
Nobody ever says that.
Well, I bet they do. I bet they do. So I don't mind that. But So I'm confident in my abilities, and this is not a one-dimensional game anymore. You have to not only be able to drive, but you have to be able to talk to sponsors, talk to the media, represent products and companies, and so that's just part of the package. You need to be a package deal anymore, and so if I have a good package to offer sponsors, then that's a good thing for me.
Last question, the question all NASCAR fans want to know. They say if Danica Patrick is going to succeed in this sport, she's going to have to commit to this sport because you have a lot to learn, as you've already admitted. Are you going to have to make a decision here soon about committing to this sport?
Well, I won't have to make a decision soon, but obviously at some point in time I'm going to have to make a decision and decide what it is that I want to do, and decide if I want to keep pursuing this or if I want to do what's familiar in IndyCar. But it's only February, so that decision is inevitable, but luckily the inevitable is on hold right now.
Anything you want to tell the thousands of Danica Patrick fans in Orlando?
Oh, very nice. You know, I'm always very flattered with the fans. I really am. If there's anything I can do to get you to know me more or like me more, I'll do it. This is very much a sponsor fan-driven sport, and if the fans like you, the sponsors like you, and if the sponsors like you, you get to race. So I appreciate the support for sure, and you know, just thanks for being there. I know that there's good weekends and I know that there's bad weekends, and you know, for those fans who stick with you and stay positive and optimistic for you, you know, those are really great fans.
She is Danica Patrick. Danica, thank you very much.